Hey everyone, it's Stasha Erickson, and I hope you're all doing well today. Well, it is February the 9th of 2017, and I am here today with a Mandela Effect video. I know it has been quite some time since I have recorded just a Mandela Effect video only, but this is one that I was waiting on for a little while because I felt that there was going to be maybe some more changes and more to the story, and I have found one more effect that goes along with this Mandela effect that I'd never seen before. So today I want to discuss the JFK assassination. Now I know I'm not the first person to make a video about this Mandela effect, but it has really struck me personally in a lot of ways. Growing up, my mother really loved Marilyn Monroe, and she was a big fan of her movies, and she was also alive during the JFK assassination. And I remember her telling me stories about Marilyn and JFK, and also about the assassination and just how horrible it was, because I think she was at school, a little girl in school, and everybody was watching this president, coming down the motorcade, and then all these small children were in the school and witnessed this assassination. And it really affected my mother in a big way. Now, anybody else that I know that talked about JFK, my father included, and many people, just really had this strong love for this man, that he was very special. And regardless of what the truth was about his relationship to Marilyn Monroe, or anything he may have done that people would consider shady, the man did not deserve to die, especially did not deserve to die in the way that he did. So for those of you who are not familiar with what I'm referring to as the JFK Mandela effect, when JFK was assassinated, most people from, we'll say, the memories that I have, or the timeline that I came from, we all remember that, that JFK in the assassination was in a car, a four-seater car with four people. There was two people in the front. There was a driver and a Secret Service agent in the front seat. And then in the back seat was President Kennedy and Jackie O. And there was many people who had done documentaries and breakdowns of this assassination to try to come up with different theories. There was one called the magic bullet theory, where they believed possibly the Secret Service agent turned around and shot him, or the driver turned around and shot him. I've been rewatching the footage of the assassination over and over again recently, and it just does not add up. The footage looks so strange. Now, if you watch the video of the JFK assassination, he is now in what is known as a six-seater car. So there is a row of two seats in the front with the driver and the Secret Service agent. Then in the second row, there was this very strange partition or pane of glass that then separated the front seat from the back seat. Then in the back seat was two more people. There was a man named John Connolly, I believe was his name. Let's see here. John Connolly and his wife, Nellie. Now, they were sitting in the row behind the Secret Service agent and the driver, behind the bulletproof glass. And then President Kennedy and Jackie Onassis were sitting behind John Connolly and his wife. Now, I don't ever recall there being this type of a vehicle that existed in the 60s. Even to look at a vehicle, this six-seater vehicle to this day, it doesn't seem to fit. So I'm going to show you guys some different screenshots of kind of what you can see now when you check out the assassination, and also some residual evidence of other places where it is referenced that there was only four people in the car. Um, the cartoon The Simpsons, there's so much predictive programming in that show. It's unreal. Literally every cartoon they have done is something that's come to life later. And so it brings me back to witchcraft and warlocks and all of this stuff. But they even had an episode of The Simpsons where they were reenacting the assassination of JFK, and there was just four people in a four-seater car. So of course, cartoons can have a little bit of a spin or change a little bit from the real reality, but The Simpsons don't make mistakes. They have literally predictively programmed so many events in history at this point. I almost kind of lost count of how many things I've seen that they've predicted. Now, one other thing that's really bothering me was the more I was kind of reading about who was apparently there that day in the official story of the JFK assassination. It again says the John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was assassinated at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on Friday, November 22nd, 1963, in Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas. He was fatally shot by Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, if you guys saw my video a couple videos back, I showed you the Lee Harvey Oswald Mandela effect, which has just happened, where you can no longer see the Jack Ruby coming up and shooting him on the footage. It's now this weird footage that's been chopped up into bits. Please take a look at the Lee Harvey Oswald shooting as well, because it's just super weird. This guy was totally set up, Lee Harvey Oswald. So it says, fatally shot by Lee Harvey Oswald. He was traveling with his wife, Jacqueline, Texas Governor John Connally, and Connally's wife, Nellie, in a presidential motorcade. A 10-month investigation from November 1963 to September 1964 by the Warren Commission concluded that Oswald acted alone in shooting Kennedy and that Jack Ruby also acted alone when he killed Oswald before he could stand trial. Kennedy's death marked the fourth following Lincoln, Garfield, and McKinley, and most recent assassination of an American president, Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson, became president upon Kennedy's death when he took the constitutionally prescribed oath of office on board Air Force One at Dallas Love Field before departing for Washington, D.C. Okay, there's all kinds of things wrong with everything I just read here. First thing I have to note, John Connally, that name Connally. I would say 1 month ago when I started to do the research on this, his name was not spelled Connally. Now, the reason I know this is because Connolly is a very common surname in Ireland. And as you guys know, I have lived back and forth in Ireland since 2001 or 2002. I have met so many Connollys in my life, I can't even count how many Connollys I know, and none of them are spelled Connally. And that's because that is not the true origin of the name. Now let me explain how the real name should be spelled. Is Connolly, Connolly. It's a town in England, Connolly, England. Connolly really comes from O'Clonic. It's so hard for me to say Irish. My kids can speak Irish, but I'm terrible. It's O'Conhalle. O'Conhalle is the full spelling in Irish. Now, Connolly is the basic surname. It's also found in Western Australia. And then you go down below and there's James Connolly, an Irish Republican. We got Billy Connolly, the comedian. There's also Connolly, which is an Australian suburb. We also have Connolly, County Clare Village in Ireland. We have John Connolly, the writer. And then we also have Connolly written as the most common Irish surname. Not one person with the name Connolly is spelled with an A. So I wasn't even looking for that Mandela effect today. I was just doing research to kind of tell you guys about the whole thing. And then I found that. This is so strange with the spellings. There is no Connally. There is only a Connolly. If anything, the only other way I've ever seen Connolly written is with an E. Connelly. And this is what's frustrated me the most about the Mandela effect is that I was a spelling bee nerd growing up. I was a real kind of teacher's pet. I was that annoying kid who was really good at spelling and, always was trying to be the best at English and all of this stuff. And so things like spelling to me are like, as common as taking a shower. I know spelling, it's what I do. I just got finished writing 2 novels last year, and when I would send my novels to be proofread to these professional proofreaders, they'd send them back to me, and all of these words that I had spelled correctly had been auto-corrected to new spellings. And I'm talking about really common words like definitely. One more person, if I see definitely one more time, definitely. Definitive is really the derivative of the word definite. So why would it be now definitely? They've changed that or they added an A. There's many, many, many things that are very strange about this assassination. Now, I don't want to get too much into the whole thing, but there was one last paragraph about the assassination that was really bothering me. And it says, in light of the investigative reports determining that reliable acoustic data do not support a conclusion that there was a second gunman. So they believe there was no second gunman. They believe it was Lee Harvey Oswald, and when you even read how he died, how the president died, it says sniper style assassination. And they've even listed the weapons here, like they're showing off. Oh, it was a 65 by 52 millimeter Italian Carcano bolt action rifle. How do they know all this? I mean, this is like they're showing off. It's really crazy. And the other thing it says here is that there was 2 deaths. There was a President Kennedy death and then a guy called JD Tippit that apparently died that day as well. Who's JD Tippit? I mean, who is this guy? And wouldn't we have heard about JD Tippit being shot and killed at the same time? And it says JD Tippit was a American police officer who was an 11-year veteran with the Dallas Police Department on a Dallas street about 45 minutes after the assassination of JFK on November 22nd. Tippit was shot to death in a residential neighborhood in Oak Cliff. Lee Harvey Oswald was initially arrested as a suspect in Tippit's murder, but also became a suspect in the shooting of President Kennedy. Oswald was charged with both crimes shortly after his arrest. However, Oswald denied involvement in either of the cases. Before Oswald could be prosecuted for either crime, he was shot and killed while in police custody by strip club owner Jack Ruby. Now, what's very strange to me is that did Jack Ruby own a strip club? Do we really have strip clubs in the 60s? I know they had burlesque dancers and all this stuff, but I mean, I thought he was just a mobster. I thought he was in the mafia. What a strip club owner. There's so many strange things. Every time I read into this further that I just get more and more and more questions. The other thing that blew my mind was how they mentioned that Kennedy was the 4th president to have been assassinated. Now, of course, I remember President Lincoln being assassinated. I really admired President Lincoln when I was a child, and I really looked up to him. I thought it was amazing what he did for slavery and everything. But Garfield and McKinley, I'm sorry, I do not remember learning that in school. And I went to what was known as a GATE school, or for gifted and talented education. So yes, some of our education was a little more specialized, but we learned every president. I remember being in like 3rd or 4th or 5th grade having to memorize every president from Washington up until the president that we had when I was a child, and I believe that was Reagan. So that's another thing too. that is really, really bothering me. I do not remember 4 presidents being assassinated. It's just very strange. So this JD Tippit guy, who is he? How did he get linked to poor Lee Harvey Oswald? What did Lee Harvey do to become this patsy for everybody? Um, I kind of wonder if maybe the guy JD Tippit, maybe because he was a police officer, maybe he knew that the government was in on it, and he was like running. This was like an hour later after it happened. They found him like an hour later after the death. Maybe he saw what happened and was basically going to tell somebody what he saw. And I think whoever really took out JFK was probably the same person that took this guy out too. And I do believe that it was within the government. Now, in light of the investigative reports determining that reliable acoustic data do not support a conclusion that there was a second gunman, the Justice Department has concluded active investigations stating that no persuasive evidence can be identified to support the theory of a conspiracy in the assassination of President Kennedy. Right. However, Kennedy's assassination is still the subject of widespread debate and has spawned numerous conspiracy theories and alternative scenarios. Polling in 2013 showed that 60% of Americans believe that a group of conspirators were responsible for the assassination. Yeah, well, I do believe there was a group of conspirators responsible, but I believe that they were within our own government. So, this doesn't have, it seems like the government haven't changed much. We all know that 9/11 was an inside job. And there's been this deep little feeling inside of me, just an intuition, Again, I don't like to make predictions, I just like to share my intuitions. But the more I have researched about like 9/11 and what happened that day, and it hit me like a ton of bricks that Donald Trump obviously owned those 2 buildings. He owned the World Trade Center. He created it and he built it. And he also openly admits that he used to be part of the Freemasons, that he was kind of in their what he called secret club. And I think that perhaps maybe he wasn't willing to go the extra mile and do the pedophilia or do the cannibalism or do whatever these real witches and warlocks do to stay in power. And so he left their club. And when he left their club, because of all of his money and power and whatever he gave, I know Freemasons have to give dues to like their chapters and stuff. Maybe when he left, they got really angry because who knows how much influence he might have had before. And if they destroyed his buildings, I can guarantee you that he knew who did it. Somebody told him who did this. And he's known about it since 2001. And I believe that ever since he found out who truly took down those towers and not only destroyed his masterpiece of architecture that he built. I mean, he's an architect. My husband is a carpenter and this is what he does. And so I know how this is. When you create something, you're not going to destroy it or let it to get destroyed. He planned that building for those buildings for years. Even Donald Trump was on on a news interview shortly after it happened saying, "I have no idea how an airplane can melt molten steel. Jet fuel from a plane cannot melt molten steel. Only a bomb could do that." So I'm starting to think that maybe President Trump is kind of coming into office now to get revenge on the people that destroyed not just his buildings, that's one thing, but all of the human lives that perished that day. I was actually living in Chicago at the time of the World Trade Center attack, and the third plane was on its way to my neighborhood, to the Sears Tower. And one of my roommates, his name was Cameron, his brother worked in the Virgin Record store, which was on the second floor of one of the tower buildings. And he was able to get out, but many people didn't. And I went to New York City shortly after the bombings happened, and I went to Ground Zero, and it was like the most eerie feeling I'd ever had in my life. So much so that I honestly don't ever want to go to New York City ever again. I felt like I was walking through the valley of the shadow of death. It was like I was surrounded by like zombie people. Something changed in New York when those towers came down, and whoever had power before, it changed hands. Why am I talking about Donald Trump in a JFK video? Let me explain. Many people are comparing kind of what Donald Trump is doing by speaking out against the government and being anti-establishment and being anti, the way things have been, to Donald Trump's approach. Of course, he's not JFK wasn't as aggressive, but I believe that Donald Trump is just as much of a threat as JFK was to his own establishment. So think about it, you know? The government is just taking out their own people left and right. They lift you up and then they tear you down. And when they're the ones that they're the ones that lifted you up, but they're the ones that destroyed you. It's the same as Donald Trump. All the celebrities and the producers and the people at all the networks, they made him this big, huge star, this reality show star. And in the minute it wasn't convenient anymore, they were the first people to bring him down. Probably the same celebrities and same producers and executive producers that worked. I think it was he had a Mark Burnett show. All those people lifted him up, made him a superstar, stroked his ego. Remember, I worked in TV. I know how it goes behind the scenes. They lifted him so high up and then they crashed him down. And they're still doing it now. So this is nothing new. This just seems to be a theme with the government and power. It's disgusting. But the real question is, what are they doing to our history? What are they trying to cover up? What do they gain by changing how many people were in the car the day JFK died? The footage that I see now, it sure as heck looks like Jackie Onassis is actually the one that shot him. I will leave a link in the description below for a slow motion version of the assassination, and you tell me what it looks like to you. So I just want to know what you guys think. What do you remember? I'm writing a book on the Mandela effect, and I'm going to be wrapping it up hopefully as soon as possible. I've had a lot of stuff going on because I am dealing with immigration issues myself between Norway and the United States. So I haven't had as much time to finish it as I would like, but what I would really, really love is as much feedback as possible from all of you about what you remember about the JFK assassination. Was it 4 people? Was it 6 people? Was there bulletproof glass? Was whatever. Some people even believe that they thought the car JFK was in was like a blue color, like a presidential blue, not a pitch black car. And again, I'm going to show you guys some screenshots here of some before and after. There's a picture from Life magazine that has a 4-seater on it. There is a museum where they have some of the JFK stuff on display, and the car is there, and it's a 4-seater car at the JFK Museum. So maybe with the Mandela effect, they can only kind of manipulate things, certain things that go through the internet, things that go through Wi-Fi, things that are available to the whole World Wide Web, that maybe they can't physically change certain things. Maybe if a newspaper's already been printed from the 60s, they can't change it, etc., etc. But I would advise for everybody to keep an eye on this case, keep watching this case, and please, please share with me your memories of the JFK assassination and let me know what you remember. Okay, guys, I hope you're all doing well. I've been a little under the weather for the past couple of weeks, but I am doing well, and I'm glad to connect with you all again. And I have quite a lot of Mandela effect videos that I'm going to be bringing to you guys on a regular basis. Because I've just got so many notes and so many files and so many photos and things I want to share with you guys. So I'll be back on the Mandela effect tip for a little while, and I really, really, really appreciate your feedback, guys. Please leave as many comments as you can below. If you've got a story, if you've got some residual evidence, anything that you would like to add, I can even feature your residual evidence in my upcoming book. Just contact me. any way you can. My website is stashaerickson.com. And yeah, I really appreciate being with you guys today. And I hope we get to the bottom of this JFK Mandela effect soon. Because the one thing that kind of set with me at the end was a quote from JFK. And he said, "Forgive your enemies, but never forget their names." So perhaps somebody who really did this to JFK is starting to feel guilty, and they want to go back and change it so that they don't have to be the enemy anymore. There's always a hidden clue in these Mandela effects. So keep looking for them and look as deeply as you can. Okay, I love you all. Bye-bye.